Hi, I'm Larry Richardson, your step-by-step chef. In this episode, we're going to make a traditional Mexican breakfast, Juevos Rancheros. Now, in this first video of Juevos Rancheros, I'm going to make it with scrambled eggs. Some people like the scrambled egg version better than the traditional fried egg version. So I'm going to show you both, and there are two videos for Juevos Rancheros. So be sure to go to stepbystepchef.com, my website, to get the right one for your taste. So we're going to make this dish. It's delicious, it's filling, and it's really not that hard to make. So come on, let's cook. And here are the basic ingredients for our Juevos Rancheros. First of all, I use a half a cup of refried beans. I'm really into these black bean refried beans lately. They're very creamy and very tasty, but use the refried beans you can get your hands on. And heck, if you know how to make your own refried beans, break a spoon. I also use a quarter cup of shredded cheese. I'm using the Mexican blend. You know, again, do it to your taste. You might have other blends that you enjoy in your breakfast dishes, such as omelets or anything else involving cheeses. I'm also using 1 egg, a teaspoon of butter, a quarter teaspoon of salt. I'm going to use about a quarter teaspoon of cumin in this, but only if I can't get my hands on fresh cilantro, because I am going to use a quarter of a cup of fresh cilantro in this dish. I'm also using a half a cup of tomatoes. Those are Campari tomatoes, which are very sweet. I'm going to clean those out and dice them until I have a half a cup. I'm using a jalapeno, but that's totally optional. I like heat in my Mexican food, so I'm going to add that into our very basic Pico de Gallo, and then I'm going to use a quarter cup of diced onion. So as you can see, this is what you need, and also one last piece, 1 flour tortilla. Now, this will serve 1. So when I'm done making this, that's for 1. So just multiply the ingredients times the number of people you have, and that's what you will need to serve this for breakfast. So come on, let's cook. So before we prepare our egg, or heat up the tortilla, or even heat up the beans, we want to prepare our Pico de Gallo, which is going to go on top of the Juevos Rancheros. So again, we want a quarter cup of onion. Now, I really love sweet onion in these dishes. If all you can get is yellow onion or white onion, that's fine too. As long as it's to your taste, use the onion that you enjoy. So I'm just going to finely dice this. So I'm just cutting in one direction. And then I'm just scoring it in the other direction. And that makes nice little squares. And then I just cut down the face. And there's our quarter cup of onion. And next, we're going to make a quarter cup of cilantro. Now, this cilantro has already been rinsed, and it's not really weedy. If you have really sticky cilantro with a lot of these, stems to it, then you might want to just pull the leaves off and then chop it up. This cilantro up toward the top is awfully delicate, so I know it won't taste like you're getting a mouthful of stick when you eat the cilantro. So I'm just going to chop it like this. Just really finely chop it until I have a quarter cup. Okay, just set that aside. And then just give it a nice little extra chop. And there we go. Okay. And the next thing I'm going to do is clean out these tomatoes. So I'm cutting off the tops. In fact, let me wipe that cilantro off of there. Kind of getting in my way. Okay, there we go. Now we have a much cleaner work area. So what I'm doing is I'm just chopping these tomatoes like this first. Take off those stemmy tops, discard, and then just cut them in half. And now I'm going over to the sink, and I'm just taking out the seeds and the pulp. And I do this because it keeps the Pico de Gallo from being too wet. I don't want it like soaking the breakfast dish. And if you can't get Campari tomatoes, that's fine. Whatever tomatoes you can get your hands on are perfect. Just give them a good cleaning. And again, you want to have a half a cup of tomato. So there we go. And now I'm just going to slice this into smaller pieces. And then we're going to dice it. Okay. I love Pico de Gallo. I could just sit around and eat this all day, and it's good for you too. And I do have a recipe on Step by Step Chef on how to make a delicious Pico de Gallo. And really the only difference between what we're doing right now is that one has lime in it. And I don't really think that I need lime in my breakfast version of it. I just don't enjoy it as much. I like it to be a little bit more mellow, a little bit less tart. Okay, and there's our tomatoes. And I think even by this measure, I'm going to have some extra Pico de Gallo. So guess what I'm going to have with my lunch too. And the final thing I'm going to chop is our optional jalapeno. And I'm only going to use half of this because, again, I don't want the heat to take over the dish, but I do want a little bit of that authentic Mexican taste. So I'm cleaning out the core and seeds. There we go. And then I'm just going to finely chop it. Okay. And I'm just going the length of it. And I wear this glove so I don't get hot jalapeno in my eyes. If I forget that I was working with jalapeno today. So you want to be a little careful with that. There we go. And then we're going to add our eighth to a quarter teaspoon of salt to it. And again, salt it to taste. And you can always add salt. So don't over salt it because you can't remove the salt, but you can always add salt later. And I love to serve my dishes with that complete option for people who are dining with me. If I oversalt something or I salt it too much ahead of time, then it doesn't give them the option to do it to their own taste. I don't know about you, but I'm drooling. Look how fresh that looks. Doesn't that look tasty? So literally, if I were making Pico de Gallo at this point, you know, a chunky salsa, then I would just squeeze like probably a little bit less than half a lime into this. And that would just be tasty. And there we go. So now we're going to prepare our refried beans, our tortilla, and our egg. I'll meet you over at the stove. Okay, now we're all done making our Pico de Gallo. So now we want to prepare the ingredients for our Juevos Rancheros that should be hot when we serve the dish. So the first thing we want to do is put our half a cup of refried beans in a pan and just put that over just under medium heat and get it good and hot. Now you want to keep an eye on these because they can burn to the bottom of the pan and get kind of brittle. So keep an eye on them as they heat up and stir them occasionally. You're also more than welcome to put your refrieds in a microwave and heat them up that way at the last minute. Just make sure to cover the dish that they're in so that they don't explode all over the inside of your microwave. So I'm going to put this on another burner over just under medium heat. And then what we do is we have our tortilla. And our tortilla also will be warmed up at just under medium heat. Now you will want to have a spatula or something to flip this with handy, because what we're going to do is get this browned. We want it nice and brown and yet not too crispy and certainly not burned. So you want it sort of a controlled cooking that you do to it. Just lightly browned, a little bit flexible so that you can cut it with a knife. And this is the foundation of our dish. So this is also going under or going onto a burner at just under medium heat. And the final piece we want to do is our huevos, our egg. And we're going to cook that at medium heat with that teaspoon of butter, and I'll show you how in one moment. And for the scrambled egg version of Juevos Rancheros, again, some people don't like the traditional fried egg version. I'm just going to scramble one egg. So I preheated this pan over medium heat for about 3 minutes, and I'm adding our teaspoon of butter. Get that nice and spread out. And you can either pre-scramble the egg or just do this and break it right into the pan. Now if you do this version, just make sure that you don't get any shell into the mix. And just scramble that egg up. Now you're certainly welcome to use 2 eggs if you want. It's sort of a tradition only to use 1, but some people like it as a very eggy dish. You know, most of this cooking that I do, I really encourage people, make it my way the first time, and then make it to your taste the next time, because not all of us have the exact same tastes. I know that's hard to believe for a lot of food critics out there, but everyone likes things a little bit different. And that's actually the fun of cooking. That's why I taught myself how to cook, is I couldn't get what I wanted when I went out. So if I can't get what I want, and especially in terms of freshness and healthy ingredients and served hot, then, you know, learn how to make it yourself. Don't just sit there and take it. So there we go. There's a nice buttery egg. And you can make it as wet or dry as you like it. Again, that's another thing that people do to their own taste. And there we go. That is the consistency of the scrambled egg that I like. So I'm just setting that aside for a moment, and I'm going to tend to our tortilla, which has been browning over just about medium heat for a couple of minutes. Get that nice and hot. And again, our refried beans are on another burner, heating up just fine. Refried beans, see, they're starting to get steamy. And again, I just want to brown the tortilla. I don't want to get it too toasty so that it's hard to cut with a knife. You don't want it really brittle. And that tortilla is plenty good for me. Let's go put the Juevos Rancheros together. So let's build our Juevos Rancheros. There's our foundation. It's our lightly browned hot tortilla. Next up comes our steaming hot refried beans. I'm going to spread those over the tortilla. This tortilla has a little bounce to it. It got a few bubbles on it when it was heating up. It's just a little hard for me to work with this because I'm working around a tripod. So I am usually a little bit more graceful than this. Okay, so here we go. Just spread that out evenly over the tortilla. And now, because these beans are so hot, what I'm going to do is add our shredded cheese right on top of the beans because they melt down really nicely. There we go. And here comes our scrambled eggs. Just spread those over the top. And this is like a complete meal. You have your protein, you have your vegetable, you have your starch, and you just plain old have deliciousness. And here we go. Now we put our Pico de Gallo right on top of that. And do it to taste. You know, maybe you want more, maybe you want less. But boy, doesn't that look tasty? So this again is the scrambled egg version of Juevos Rancheros. I also have a video on stepbystepchef.com with the traditional fried egg version. So there you have it. So congratulations, look at what you just did. You just made scrambled eggs Juevos Rancheros. Now if you visit my website stepbystepchef.com, you can get a printable version of the scrambled egg Juevos Rancheros and the traditional fried egg Juevos Rancheros. And there's also a link for the video for the fried egg version too. Now this was very easy to make. You have to admit, a lot of ingredients, but very easy to make the step-by-step way. If you visit my website, stepbystepchef.com, you're going to find dozens of recipes for delicious dishes and meals that you, your family, and your friends are sure to enjoy. So again, my name is Larry Richardson. I'm your step-by-step chef, and I'll see you in the next episode.